Hi friends, welcome to LiteratureNet. This video is second part of UPSC Mains English Literature Optional previous 10-year question paper analysis. If you want to see part 1 of this video, I have inserted link in description box and I button. Please check it out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family. Enter your valuable feedbacks in the comment section below and don't forget to subscribe to our channel LiteratureNet. Without any further delay, let's move into the video. The first topic which we are going to see now is Gulliver's Travel by Jonathan Swift. First question, man is utterly wicked, desperate and imbecile as portrayed in the fourth voyage of Gulliver. Do you agree? Second question, do you agree with the view that Gulliver suffers from a sense of identity crisis? Third question, what are the objects of Swift's satire in Gulliver's journey to Laputa in part 3 of Gulliver's Travel? Question number 4. The surface of the book Gulliver's Travel is comic, but at its center there is tragedy. Elucidate with reference to Gulliver's Travel. Fifth one, mention the ways in which Swift gets the reader to accept the fantastical people, places and phenomena in Gulliver's Travel. Sixth question, describe Gulliver's Travel as an individual's constant attempt to integrate himself into a society in which he doesn't belong. Seventh question, discuss Gulliver's Travel as a tale with an element of ridiculous and the fantastic which has a universal appeal. Elaborate. Eighth one, what aspects of contemporary British life does Jonathan Swift satirize in Gulliver's Travel? Ninth question, in a sense of book 2 of Gulliver's Travel is a reversal of book 1. Do you agree? Give reasons for your answer. Question number 10. Gulliver's 4 voyages display different aspects of Swift's critique of his age. Discuss with illustrative references. 11th one. In Gulliver's Travel, does the satirist's fierce indignation verge on misanthropy? Justify your answer. 12th question. How does Swift portray Gulliver as a divided person in the 4th book of Gulliver's Travels? This work has 4 parts. We should be able to identify the similarities and differences among them. While reading, remember to compare the places of Gulliver's visit. Also understand the whole nature of the work. Gulliver's Travel is a prose satire. It satirizes politics, human nature and society. So observe from this perspective. Next topic, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. First question. Most of our amusement in reading Pride and Prejudice comes from our being aware of differences between appearance and reality that go unperceived by the characters themselves. Discuss and illustrate this statement. Second one, in Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen combines the essence of conservative as well as reformist issues concerning rights, education, marriage, authority and gender discourse. Discuss. Third one, the apparently superficial concern with marriage in Pride and Prejudice masks a deeper social critique. Discuss with reference to the novel. Fourth one, Jane Austen is a critical observer who uses irony as a means of moral and social judgment. Examine Pride and Prejudice in the light of the statement. Fifth question, the women in Jane Austen's novel are more lifelike than the men. How far is this comment applicable to Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice? To answer such questions, deeper knowledge of that particular character is required. Sixth one, within the narrow limits she set for herself, she achieved a finished realism with qualities of the highest wit and elegance. Discuss with reference to Jane Austen's art. Seventh one, critically examine the comment that Pride and Prejudice is a journey into self-understanding and a realistic assessment of an earlier misjudgment. Eighth one, in Pride and Prejudice, first impressions, illusions and subjective opinions give way to attachment, balance, reasonableness and more painfully to humiliating reassessments. Discuss. Ninth one, Pride and Prejudice is on the surface a novel depicting gentle life, but a motive force is a desperate manhunt for social survival. Examine. 10th one, Show what part is played by the other characters in bringing about the changes in Darcy and Elizabeth which led to their final reconciliation in Pride and Prejudice. 11th one, how do gender and class play an important role in the development of the plot in Pride and Prejudice? 12th, do you think Darcy and Elizabeth are the main protagonists for the development of the plot in Pride and Prejudice, or do you think Bingley and Jane are parallel protagonists in the novel? Answer questions on the basis of a close reading of the novel. 13th, is it correct to describe Pride and Prejudice as a novel about the education of Elizabeth Bennet? Justify your answer. 14th, the tale is that of a manhunt. Do you agree with this critical view with reference to Pride and Prejudice? Question number 15. Jane Austen focuses on the inner workings of the mind. In the light of this remark, comment on Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is a novel based on social status and expectations of women during 18th century. It is a comedy of manners. On seeing previous year question papers, we can know that most of the questions are about the themes of the work but with a little twist in it. Tom Jones by Henry Fielding. First question, Fielding is not as sympathetic towards women as he is towards men. Do you agree? Give a recent answer. Second one, assess the role of the narrator in Tom Jones. Third one, explore the theme of charity in Fielding's Tom Jones. How does Fielding emphasize this theme by contrast? Fourth question, sketch the development of the travel motif through the novel Tom Jones. Fifth, Dr. Johnson called Tom Jones an immoral text. Would you agree? Write a recent answer. Sixth one, in Tom Jones, Fielding's scathing satire is reserved for the London upper class. Discuss. Seventh one, describe your response to Tom Jones, a leisurely novel of a bygone era. Eighth one, though Tom's heart is in the right place, his instincts are not always in his control. Do you agree? Justify your answer with illustrations from Tom Jones. Ninth one, in what way did Tom Jones contribute to the development of the novel in terms of both the form and content? Substantiate your answer with the reference to the novel. 10th question, Tom Jones is a panorama of the follies, vices and hypocrisies of the world. Discuss. 11th one, consider Tom Jones as a comic epic in prose about a foundling. Hard Times by Charles Dickens. First question, comment on the socio-economic and political issues that Dickens takes up in Hard Times. Second one, show how Dickens represents the impact of the Industrial Revolution in Hard Times, not only from the material but also from the moral and philosophical perspectives. Third one, how does Charles Dickens attack the typical ideology of the contemporary education in England and satirize the utilitarian philosophy of education in Hard Times? Fourth one, on what grounds can you justify the division of the novel Hard Times into 3 parts with separate titles? Fifth question, the novel Hard Times depends on the opposition between fact and fancy, the contrast which it gives it both tension and unity. Discuss. Sixth one, Hard Time was condemned by Macaulay for its sullen socialism. In the next century, it became more popular. How do you account for this? Seventh one, E.M. Forster described Dickens' men and women as flat character. Which one of the characters from Hard Time do you find conforming to or deviating from this description? Eighth question, in Hard Times, Dickens makes moral comments on the industrialization of society. Can you find such instances to show how he incorporates such comments into realistic narrative? Ninth one, discuss Hard Time as a satire on several contemporary value systems, utilitarianism, materialism, capitalism and rationalism. So far it may seem that the questions are tough, but it's doable. I suggest you guys to read the complete text of the work. In Google or any materials you can find many summaries. You can read them too, but don't take them as your primary material. You can use them to get a crisp idea or glimpse of the text. Next topic, The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. First question, discuss the predicament of the self in conflicting with the social milieu in The Mill on the Floss. Second one, Maggie Tulliver's intelligence, scholarly competence and wide-ranging imagination liabilities for a woman. Discuss the statement with reference to social determinism. Third one, discuss the role of the narrator in George Eliot's The Mill on the Floss. What values does the narrator uphold? Fourth one, critically comment on point of view as a narrative technique in The Mill on the Floss. Fifth one, how do patriarchist rules control and define the life of Maggie Tulliver in The Mill on the Floss? Discuss. Sixth one, how do you consider the course that Maggie Tulliver's life takes an inevitable consequence of her circumstances? Did she have a choice? Next question belongs to the work Hard Times. Comment on the symbolic use of the urban setting in Hard Times. This question was asked in 2011 question paper. Next question. Maggie Tulliver's two relationships with Philip Wackham and Stephen Guest were both doomed to failure. Analyze the reasons behind this. Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. First question. Do you find any similarity between Tess of the D'Urbervilles and a Greek tragedy? Second one. Examine the role of determinism in Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Third one. Would you agree that Tess of the D'Urbervilles portrays the decadence of the late Victorian England? Substantiate your answer with reference to the novel. Hardy uses several symbols skillfully in Tess of the D'Urbervilles and they are too deep to be missed at first reading. Discuss. Fifth one, comment on the theme of the old social order versus the new in Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Sixth one, do Tess' major actions arise out of her desire for social climbing or from her determination to exist? Seventh one, how does Thomas Hardy dramatize his ideas of man's cruelty to woman in Tess of the D'Urbervilles? Eighth one, discuss the significance and relevance of subtitle A Pure Woman appended by Thomas Hardy to Tess of the D'Urbervilles. How did the debate reveal the attitudes of Victorian society towards morality? Ninth one, chock full of faults and falsity is how a critic found Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Consider the statement and give your opinion. 10th one, many 19th century reviewers were critical of Tess of the D'Urbervilles, accusing Hardy of depicting immorality in the novel. In what ways might 19th century readers have found this novel immoral? 11th one, critically examine Tess of the D'Urbervilles in the light of Thomas Hardy's statement that he was a Millerist. 12th one, critically examine the role played by coincidence in Tess of the D'Urbervilles. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. First question, critically examine the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn as an attack on the institution of slavery. Second one, the Mississippi River is a striking metaphor for Huck Finn's journey, his great escape and quest for freedom. Do you think this river is the main structural principle of the novel? Third one, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is more than a straightforward story about a boy and a runaway slave floating down the Mississippi River. What are the serious issues it addresses? Fourth one, the river is one of the most powerful motifs in Huckleberry Finn. Show its relationship to lives of Huck and Jim. Fifth one, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn shows the growth of consciousness of an innocent young orphan into an adolescent who understands the evil world around him. Discuss. Sixth question, how does Mark Twain addresses the question of slavery in Huckleberry Finn? Discuss. Seventh one, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is more than a boy's tale. What are the serious issues it addresses? Question number 8. Consider Twain's handling of the outlaw figure in Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Ninth one, critically consider Huckleberry as a novel about the conflict between social and the individual. 10th one, what is your opinion of the way in which Twain handles the issue of race in the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn? Explain with reference to the text. Try to analyze the work from every possible point of view. Examine the flow and have a note of it. Include the important elements in your notes and compare them with each part of the work. While writing your answers, never go by one-sided judgment due to your own preferences or dislikes. Other than these works, in syllabus we have been prescribed some topics and movements like Renaissance, Elizabethan and Jacobean drama, metaphysical poetry, the epic and the mock epic, neoclassicism, satire, the romantic movement, the rise of the novel and the Victorian age. I have also consolidated the questions from such topics. The Renaissance. First question, the English Renaissance and its impact. Second, the influence of Renaissance on at least two plays of Shakespeare. Third one, the influence of Renaissance on Shakespeare's imagination. Fourth one, the influence of Machiavelli on the drama of Renaissance England. Question number 5. The classical humanism of Renaissance was fundamentally medieval and fundamentally Christian. Critically analyze the statement. Sixth question, the court and the country in English literature of Renaissance. The topic of Renaissance is very important as it is considered as rebirth. So, please have a thorough knowledge of Renaissance. The next topic, Elizabethan and Jacobean drama. First question, the Elizabethan playhouse, structure, audience and impact. Second one, what are the features that distinguish Jacobean tragedy from Elizabethan? Discuss with examples. Third one, write an essay on individualism in Elizabethan and Jacobean tragedy. Metaphysical poetry. First question, the unique features of metaphysical poetry. Second one, self-conscious structuring of images in metaphysical poetry. Third one, the interest in the metaphysical poetry of early 17th century was revived in early 20th century. What features of metaphysical poetry appeal to the modern mind? Discuss with particular references to the poems of Donne. The epic and the mock epic. Question, the difference between a burlesque and a mock epic. To write answer to this question, first we have to explain the burlesque and then explain the mock epic. And finally, we have to list out the differences between them. Neoclassicism. First question, the revival of the classical spirit in neoclassical poetry. Second one, what do you understand by the term neoclassicism? Satire. Examine the factors behind the growth of political satire in the age of Dryden and Pope. The Romantic movement. First question, the impact of the French Revolution on English Romantic poets. Second one, revolutionary spirit in English Romantic poetry. Third one, democratization of poetry during the Romantic movement. Fourth question, the impact of French Revolution on English Romantic poets. Fifth one, the Romantic age marks the end of pastoral poetry in the very shock of its collision with actual country experience. Critically evaluate the statement. The rise of the novel. First question, novel as a moral fable. Second one, the reasons for the rise of the novels in 18th century. Third question, discuss the factors responsible for the rise of the novel. The Victorian age. First question, the characteristics of the Victorian age. Second one, the Industrial Revolution and Victorian novels. Third one, the influence of reading public on Victorian writer. Fourth one, the feminist consciousness in the Victorian novel. Fifth one, comment on the use of Bildungsroman narrative in the Victorian novel. Sixth question, write an essay on the condition of England in the novels written in the Victorian age. Seventh one, analyze the position of women in the Victorian era with special reference to Maggie Tulliver and Tess. Eighth one, what were the major preoccupations of the Victorian writers? Illustrate from the text you have studied. We should have a basic knowledge about literary devices and terms, poetic devices, criticism and literary theories. History of English literature should be definitely a part of our study. Keep a note of ages, movements, periods, group or school of poets, founders, fathers, pioneers and Nobel laureates in English literature and revise them regularly. From hereafter, the questions we are about to see cannot be classified into a particular topic because these questions demand an overall knowledge of the subject. Comparison, differences, judgment, or perspective, or knowledge, author details, keen observation of the theme, all these comes under this category. Let's analyze these questions. First question. The preface to lyrical ballads and the notion of poetic diction. Second one, social life and the 19th century fiction. Third one, treatment of nature by George Eliot and Thomas Hardy in their novels. Fourth one, Augustan literature and its relationship with polite society. Fifth question, transitional poets and their contribution to a change in poetic sensibility. Sixth one, if the poetry of Milton and Donne spring from the personal, Augustan poetry is centered in society. Discuss. Seventh question, Elizabeth Bennet, Maggie Tulliver and Tess were strongly constrained by society they lived in. Do you think they passively accept life as it comes or do they exercise choice? Question number 8. Discuss the role of society in the shaping of individual life and destiny in the Mill on the Floss and the Test of the D'Urbervilles. Ninth one, write an essay on social realism in 18th century novel. 10th one, both King Lear and Tempest are concerned with the mounting disillusionment about the nature of human power. Discuss. Question number 11. Gulliver's Travel and the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn are known as children's classic. What appeal do they hold for the adult reader? Discuss. Such in-depth questions can be easily answered if we follow some tips while reading. First, try to capture the exact scenario of the work with social, political and economical nature. Second one, while reading, try to find similarities or dissimilarities between any two characters or works. Third one, have a habit of syncing the work with their respective ages, periods and their authors. Fourth one, widen your vision to understand from author's point of view. Fifth one, always take your own notes. It will help you to remember better. Let's see about question 5, which is a compulsory question. Here, a poem will be provided and we will have a list of questions from that poem. We cannot expect this poem to be from our syllabus. The questions may be about theme, mood, imagery, meaning, attitude, speaker, poet's view, rhyme scheme, explanation, critical analysis, title analysis, paraphrase, relationship to speaker, poetic devices, any similarities or dissimilarities. Don't be afraid of this part. If you have read all the poem text in your syllabus, then there is a definite chance that you can answer these questions easily. Practice makes a man perfect. Practice the analysis while reading all the poems. It will help you to get through this part. Question number 1. Yes, in the Sea of Life Ennisled. This question is from the poem To Marguerite Continued by Matthew Arnold. Second question, Between My Finger and My Thumb from the poem Digging by Seamus Heaney. Third one, When You Are Old and Grey and Full of Sleep from the poem When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. Fourth one, I Think of Beauty is a Joy Forever from the poem Endymion by John Keats. Question number 5, Give Me More Love or More Disdain from the poem Mediocrity in Love Rejected by Thomas Carlyle. Sixth one, I Am Nobody, Who Are You from the poem I Am Nobody, Who Are You by Emily Dickinson. Seventh question, Be Assured the Dragon is Not Dead from the poem Vanity by Robert Graves. Eighth question, I Found This Jawbone at the Sea's Edge from the poem Relic by Ted Hughes. Ninth one, The First That Died Was Little Jane from the poem We Are Seven by William Wordsworth. 10th question, This grandson of fishes holds inside him. From the poem Evolution from the Fish by Robert Bly. 11th one, I am silver and exact, I have no preconceptions. From the poem Mirror by Sylvia Plath. 12th one, The Grey Sea and the Long Black Land. From the poem Meeting at Night by Robert Browning. 13th one, We stood by a pond that winter day. From the poem Neutral Tones by Thomas Hardy. So that's it friends, we have come to end of this video. I really hope this video is useful to every aspirants out there. All the very best to you all. Prepare well. Remember, hard work never fails. If you really like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family. Comment your valuable feedbacks in the comment section below and don't forget to subscribe to our channel Literature Net. Thanks for watching till the end. Keep supporting.